think it's 1 minute to 10, but we're going to go ahead and start. Welcome. Hope everyone fared out for Francine. She must have liked to come to the Gulf Coast. I know that some areas did get some damage, but certainly minimal, but keep them in our prayers. So now we will begin with roll call, please.
Dr. Baker.
Here.
Ms. Shassel. Here. Dr. Davis. Not present. Ms. Gonzalo. Here. Dr. Houston. Present. Ms. Anna.
Here.
Ms. Moise.
Here.
Ms. Patrick.
Here.
Sister Carol.
Present.
Dr. Williams.
Here.
Ms. Williams. Not present.
Thank you. I was looking for the chairs, and then I see this group in the corner. I'm not sure, the good people or the not good people, and then we got this side, and then we got some back here. So maybe next meeting, I'll have to put the chairs where they belong.
They sit off camera.
Oh, that's why they're sitting over there. Okay, all right.
Right now.
So we'll go around the three corners of the room and have the guests introduce themselves. We'll start on this side.
Good morning, Tom, Sam with Citizens Education Choice.
Caleb Moore, Deputy Chief of Staff, Office of Choice.
Good morning, Sylvia Davis, Superintendent of Catholic Schools in the Diocese of Alexandria.
Good morning, Chris Miller, Director of Certification and Chief of Staff at the Workforce Development.
Good morning, Tavares Walk. I guess I can't say good anymore, but I am the newly minted Executive Director of Board Elementary and Secondary.
Wonderful.
You can claim it.
I think it's week 5.
This side.
Hi there, I'm Megan Thompson. I'm in the Office of School Choice and I'm an Education Deputy Advisor.
I want to introduce a new employee everyone's going to be so happy to meet. This is Gilberta White. She is going to be taking the position in non-public programs in the Office of School Choice that Tajari had. So she's going to be working with everyone on Bessie apps and Brumfield apps and all of those things that we need a lot of help with. So please try and meet her before you leave today. Oh, and I'll come in front of you.
No, it's fine.
I'm Denise Bourgeois, and I'm the Executive Director for Non-Public Programs.
Good morning, Jamie Nixon, Computer Science and STEM Supervisor.
Nikki Landry, Executive Director of Education Policy.
She thought it was St. Patrick's Day today. I know. Did I miss the month? I wish it was March.
I did.
It would be close to the end of the school year.
Hi, good morning. I'm Melanie Mayu. I am one of the supervisors in federal support.
Kenya Jenkins, Director of Federal Support in our Division of Federal Support and Grantee Relations.
And one everyone, Burnell Cook, the Executive Director of Federal Support and Grantee Relations.
Great, thanks for all of you being here and for what you do. Now, I need a motion to approve the minutes of our July 16th meeting. Mr. Carroll?
Second.
All in favor? Lisa Patrick, I'm sorry. So our first item of new business, consideration of update regarding the annual renewal application dates and annual reporting. Who's on?
Motion to receive.
Motion to receive. Dr. Houston, second Dr. Baker.
Yes.
That's you, Denise?
Yep. Okay, lots of reminders about very important dates for your schools. October is a very heavy month for us, as always. There's lots of things in motion, quarter one enrollment, all kinds of good things are just wrapping up. And we also have the dates, the deadline dates for Bessie annual approval and Brumfield Dodd annual approval. Just a reminder on that, or if you are new to this, all schools that want to participate in excuse me, any of the state allocations or the federal services have to be Bessie and Brumfield Dodd approved by the end of December. So we have the annual update of the 15th for all of their information to be submitted. Remember, please, that they have to have a current fire marshal and a current DHH. That hangs a lot of them up every year. They forget to get those scheduled, and then it's very hard at the last minute So we will work with them as much as we can, but we have to have those 2 documents and they have to be current. So please make sure that everyone has this on their radar. Also, at the very end of October, we have the notice of intent that'll be going out for the school choice program. Not LSP, because remember, next year LSP will not be with us, it'll be the Gator. But for school choice, we will have our same date that we will be sending out the notice of intent for school choice. So be on the lookout for that.
And that is for allocated, right?
No, this is just for the school choice program. This is for the program with students with exceptionalities. Yes. Yes. I'm sorry, did somebody say something?
When are they going to send out the thing for alligator? Do you know?
I don't, but we have a LA Gator representative here.
Absolutely, I'm sorry, I missed the question.
When will they send out something for us to enroll to participate in alligator?
So the legislation had it to be no later than March 1st. We're working with the vendor that the contract's actually up for approval this Friday. Once we have that, we'll get to know a little bit more, though we're being very ambitious with the timeline. We're trying to keep that as close to the end of this year as possible.
Now, I will put you on the spot and ask a question. In the policy as it stands now, if I remember correctly, it does say that you need to be Bessie and Brumfield DOT approved. Caleb?
There's multiple ways to participate. It depends on if you want to participate as a non-public school. A non-public school can also participate as a service provider as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions on the nuance of that as we sort through the policy.
Yeah, the only reason I asked that was just to make sure if that is in the official policy, we need to make sure people know that before the October 15th deadline.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think it is. I think that's one of the things they kept from LSP. Okay, any questions on October? Okay. We'll do. Okay. Again, these are some details. So this will have the active link for the JOT form for the Bessie application. Everything is exactly the same as last year. It is still in JOT form. It is not in EdLink. They will be launching an EdLink version of it for people who are doing LA Gator going into 25. But for right now, all of our schools that are currently participating are doing JOT form. And any new schools, obviously we will welcome them in JOT form, but eventually it will be moving to EdLink. So if whoever did it at the school last year should be very proficient in doing it this year. Same thing, nothing has changed. And same thing with Brumfield DOT. It is still embedded at the very end of the Bessie application in the JOT form, so everything is very contained. They can download the forms they need to fill out. They can save them, fill them out, and then upload them right back, just like they always have. Nothing has changed. Any questions? Okay, everyone's favorite topic, EdLink. So this is the 3rd year that they have done annual enrollment in EdLink. And as we have for the last 2 years, lots of people are having problems with the system. And it is a rather complicated, cumbersome process. We do have a manual that's posted online in the non-public page on LDOE website that will walk them through it, but some people are still having problems with it. So we are aware that there are issues. We've had several schools that have had issues with their pre-K3 showing. That was a problem we had last year with both pre-Ks, so at least 4 is showing this year, but 3 is not. So we are aware of that, and we are definitely in communications with EdLink and AAA team. The challenge is we have a lot of tickets, and sometimes, you know, the schools will just send us a note and say, hey, I'm having a problem. Well, it really helps if we have a screenshot, or if we have some information like I'm stuck on this page. You know, because if they just say, I'm having trouble, we don't know how to be proactive and maybe send them something to help, or we don't know exactly how to handle their issue until we get on the phone with them. And so it would just save a lot of time. But we are aware that there are a lot of problems again this year. Our goal, obviously, is October 15th. we know that it's going to roll past that. It just does. But we do have to have it wrapped up before the end of the year. Again, that is associated with the state and federal services and allocations.
Denise, I know that you all are trying, but my frustration is that my people reach out to me to help them, and I can't do it.
Right, right.
And a few years ago, before something changed, I, as a superintendent, could go on and make the changes as my principals. That is no longer available.
Right.
It would be so much easier. I mean, I heard Edline's gonna give you a call, so maybe, I mean, I know we not that many of us, but it would help the process.
Right.
Because then they'd have the right people.
Yes,
We
yes.
struggle with the same, and I know Michael Garrett from my office handles the Edwin Goodman homeschool.
Yes.
He and Tajari were best friends.
Yes.
So I'll give you his contact information. Because he's, like you, he's been around for a long time dealing with it and can.
Tanja Reed did,
She worked.
you know, big shoes to fill, but I have confidence that you will do just as well as she did, but, you know, we just don't have
I know,
a person to talk to,
I know.
you know, and I don't mean to be ugly, but,
No.
you know, some people they've hung up on our people, you know, and they're probably frustrated.
Yeah, I can say, we receive emails directly from the schools and from you guys also, which is always fine. We are always looking to, you know, how can we help? We also receive the help desk tickets that are submitted through EdLink. They send those to us. So the challenge is, sometimes we don't know how to solve that problem because it's a technical problem, it's a system problem, and so then we have to send it back. Like I know Mr. Citron.
Oh.
Yes, I know. So he's been, between me and EdLink, I had a separate meeting with them last week, we still couldn't get him fixed. You know, so I know that there are some definite problems out there.
I think what was most helpful, not that issues were all resolved, but for the EdLink technical team, they were on a call with Tajari and Michael at the same time. And so walking through that, having the EdLink programmers hear what we're trying to achieve was helpful. Was it resolved? No. But at least they understood what the issue was,
Right, and that's how we saw pre-K3 was a problem. I started getting a stack of tickets and all pre-K3. Not that that was the only issue with some of them, but that was a very common thread we were starting to see. And so that's a programming thing, you know, that has to go back to them. So we are aware of the challenges.
So for this year, if the pre-K thing is not working still, what do you suggest we do with our pre-K3s? Last year the question was, do we include pre-K3 and pre-K4 together, or just don't include pre-K3 at all and only provide numbers for pre-K4?
We need to get it fixed because it has to be reported properly. So just give us a little bit of time. We update things like tomorrow, we have our regular monthly call. And so if we have any big fixes, we'll talk about it in the monthly call. We always have office hours that we can schedule, you know, with schools as well. So if we know that there's a group of people who have been having problems with pre-K, more than likely we're going to do a little Zoom and say, okay, this is fixed, you should see this now, or whatever. But I have not gotten that notification yet. So, but we'll make sure we keep up with them as best we can. But there are, I probably get, I don't know, 25 tickets a day some days, if it's a heavy EdLink day, and everybody's like, whoa, I'm going to go do EdLink today. So it's a challenge. But we're trying our best. We really are.
And one more thing, please, also,
Yes.
like I'm looking at EdLink right now.
Yes.
In the past, I was able to see all of the schools.
I know.
And those have disappeared also.
Yes, that's similar to what Ms. Anna was talking about. They have changed some things within the system. There's a user manual that's posted online for everyone, the schools and all of you guys. It's about this thick. And my guide on how to help people is about this thick. So I think it's very valuable in many ways because it does allow us to do much more accurate reporting. Everything is not done by hand. Everything is much more secure, but I think there are growing pains as we get into the system. And, you know, they're like, oh, well, they should know it. They did it the last 3 years. Well, people change. people in the schools change. Every year we have different contacts. So I don't know that they, realize, that. So, and some schools change in the middle of the year. So, but we are very, very aware of it, and we know that there are some serious issues.
I don't know if you can answer this, but how deep are we into the contract with EdLink? And how long is that contract? Is there an opportunity to change vendors? There are products out there that work well.
Right.
Okay, don't answer it. I'm just, for the record, I asked the question.
Yeah, well, globally, LDOE and EdLink partner on a lot of platforms and a lot of applications and a lot of other things. It's not just non-public. No. And as much as, Jot Form gives us grief and stuff, EdLink will be great. It's just, we're not quite there yet. I think we're still ironing out some things. We're getting everybody used to it. But eventually we will get there. So any questions about anything that I covered or didn't cover? Any problems any of your schools are having or?
You want a few of mine?
Yeah, let me get my list down. Yeah. All right, well, as always, if anybody needs something, you know how to reach us. We will be sending out contact information for Gilberta. And she still will be looking over the non-public help desk, just like Tajari did. So very easy to access.
Thank you, Denise.
Okay,
Any further
thank you.
discussion? Any opposition? Okay, moving right along. Consideration of revisions to vote 746. Linda back. I'm trying to go ahead, Tom. Sorry. Report, non-public school, Austin.
Hi, I'm standing in for Miss Daphne
Where's
today.
Daphne on vacation?
No, she's actually at a national.
Oh, excuse me, well, that's vacation. I need a motion to receive the report.
All right, so good morning.
Morning.
I will try to stand in for our illustrious ombudsman this morning, who is actually in an official capacity in DC at a national ombudsman meeting. So I was pretty much a part of this whole work group process with Daphne, so I can speak to it as well. So we just want to kind of begin and give you an update this morning around the non-public work group that we put together and that she spoke about in our last non-public meeting. So, of course, the purpose of the work group was to assist LDOE in designing PD programs and our activities for our BESI-approved nonprofit, non-public schools in the state. We wanted to be very intentional about how we consulted with you all and wanted you to be a part of this process with us for building out a PD plan around Titles II and Titles IV. So we started the consultation process by one, asking you what your needs were. What were you interested in? What things did you value and think were important? From that point, we put out a survey to all of the non-publics, and that survey was sent out the week of May 8th. We gave 2 weeks time period and a turnaround time to receive input on that survey, but realized that some holidays kind of fell within that time frame. The end of school, it was really busy. So we actually extended that date to make sure that we could get what we hoped for, a representative sample of survey data to look at and move forward with. We had 97 non-public schools complete the survey, but we do want you to be aware that we did have a few diocesan superintendents who submitted data for all of their schools. So take that into account with that 97. And the survey was completed by religious and secular non-public schools. So at a high level, the most common needs that came out of the survey, if we're looking at them by grade level, training on skills and strategy development and implementation, classroom techniques, skills and strategies for our K-3, classroom training on skills and strategies for K-5, and K-6 professional development overall. So if you look at this, you see pretty much everybody kind of wanted the same things. The things that seemed to be important to them were training around implementation, skills, strategies, and professional development. So across the grade level, the survey results gave us this information. So this was a good starting point for us to bring to the work group. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a way that we can get a drill down report of the data, because this is great, but it's very
broad and high level.
generic.
Yeah, it's broad and high level.
What does that
Absolutely.
mean? Classroom techniques, skills, and strategies. That could be anything or nothing, right? So what does that mean specifically?
So we definitely can give you the results so what we did is we tiered it out around what was kind of specific to Title II, what was kind of specific to Title IV, and we definitely can provide that to you. Because in the work group during the sessions, which I'll get to in a little bit in the presentation, we provided that to the work group. So this was our timeline that we worked on. We had the selections and notifications late in July, the first week of August. We had our first meeting August 15th. During that meeting, we talked about the purpose, why we brought the group together. We gave introductions to everyone that was on the work group, and then kind of talked about our next steps and what we would do moving forward. Then we had our next meeting on August 22nd. We wanted to brief the group for those that may not have been as familiar. We wanted to give them a brief synopsis on what is Title II? What does that statute say? What were the survey results? Again, high level, but not as broad as we've noted here. And we wanted to have some discussion around those results. The third meeting on August 29th, we wanted to talk about what was Title IV, for again, those that may not have been aware. Discuss those survey results and then have some discussion. The last meeting was the week of September 5th, where we looked back on all of the notes and discussion points that we had talked about in the previous 2 weeks, and we wanted to come to some level of consensus to be able to discuss with you all and share with you today. And so that is the main purpose that I am here. Here are the members of the work group. What we wanted to do in the selection process was to make sure we had a diverse work group. We wanted to make sure we had a cross-section of the various types of non-public schools around the state, and as you can see, we had a very good representation. We had 2 representatives from the Catholic Diocese, we had a non-religious representation, we have 2 staff people who are in other areas, not in federal support and grantee relations from the department, someone from our Office of Teaching and Learning, and from our Office of College and Career Readiness. We had Christian representation, Seventh-day Adventist, and Episcopal. And they all brought to the conversation different tenets and different values of what was important to them and what they wanted to get out of the process. All right, again, at high level, what we walked away from with the work group, we had a lot of robust discussions. We often set an hour aside for the meeting, and we oftentimes went over every week because the group was so ingrained in their discussions. But the work group would like us to present these 4 high-level topics as what they have assisted us at LDOE in kind of developing this SBA Equitable Services Plan. So, our online resource library. What that looked like to the group was they wanted a place where there could be on-demand videos around instructional practices, around classroom management, around different items that mainly teachers in the 3 to 5 year span of their career could go to and get quick support. Snippets, videos no more than 15 or 20 minutes. It could be a video that is displaying what a particular lesson could look like. So that is what they had in mind. They know that for this particular area, this is going to be a heavy lift. If we're designing a full on-demand platform, that would take us quite a bit of time here at the agency to be able to do that. So there were some other ideas. Witspeed was one of the platforms that they mentioned to us, and the National Independent School Association platform, just for ideas on how this could be created and what it could potentially look like at a smaller scale as we try to build it and scale it up. But this is something that would take some time. Yes, ma'am.
Was there any consideration of partnering with a third-party provider? There are providers like ASCD and others who already have these online resource libraries that exist. Why are we creating the wheel and put all that time, money, and effort in building something that already exists with a third-party provider?
So that will be what our next meetings will lead up to. So this again is just a process of us getting what they would like us to tell you about, and then our task would then be to go back as LDOE and say, okay, how can we now work with the work group to build this out, and what could it look like in addition to speaking to you all about it as well. Okay. So it is a continual process. Okay. It doesn't end here. Okay, the new teacher experience. Mr. Glenn Colvin, who was a part of our work group from the teaching and learning group, he brought this idea to the table where, as I understand it, there are about 500 new teachers that are going through this induction process that the agency has put forth, I think started in July of this year. And he mentioned that this could be a particular idea of the non-public community taking advantage of some of these seats for their new teachers as well. And so this, from what I understand, this particular experience is a comprehensive induction program that offers multiple services designed to increase teacher effectiveness, enhance skills, and reduce attrition. They have on-demand videos that can be watched. They have support quarterly calls to school systems to assist with the implementation of this program. And they have professional learning modules that exist around classroom management, standards and curriculum, data literacy, and parent and community engagement. So for this particular area, again, we at the agency are going to have to go back to this team to see if there's any way that we can include our non-public stakeholders and educators in this process, or what could we create and cultivate that looks similar to that for this particular group. They also thought about, they wanted to be able to come together in Baton Rouge or in a setting to be able to collaborate with other non-public educators. They said that they don't often have a time where they can just get together and network and collaborate just about the things that they go through in their settings on a daily basis. So they mentioned potentially bringing together in a collaborative type space, and we've done many collaboratives for many grants and programs that we have. So we did ask, okay, what does this look like to you all? And so they said, well, maybe we could have guest speakers in the morning that can come in and speak to us as a whole, and then the afternoon can be set aside for that collaborative time for us to work together, whether that be on particular strategies, whether that be on grade level breakouts, but to give them some specific time together as educators to be able to talk to one another was what we felt was the most important thing out of that. Also, it can be a place for professional development to take place as well. If we link the professional development, which was a high piece in the survey, if we link that to the guest speaker, that's something that can then be reinforced in the afternoon during the network session. So we have a lot of ideas of how to bring these collaborative sessions to light. The last thing was Teacher Leader Summit. And it's not just attending Teacher Leader Summit, it's not having a track with Teacher Leader Summit, it's actually being intimately and intentionally involved with Teacher Leader Summit. Meaning, they want to be a part of the planning committee. They want to have a say in potential sessions, potential guest speakers, potential vendors. So they actually want to be very involved in the process. And so again, this is a space where we here will have to go to the group that plans that, because our team does not. But to be able to forge that relationship And again, bring about intentionality to ensure that this is a space that is equal for our public and non-public educators. And they just want to be able to have more of a presence, which we think is absolutely doable.
Kenya, what is the capacity to expand the capacity for Teacher Leader Summit? If we're talking about expanding it to non-public schools, I know it fills up with public schools and charter schools. I have 3,500 employees in my schools alone. That's not counting all the other non-publics throughout the state of Louisiana. That would be an easy grab for us because we're in New Orleans and it's held in New Orleans. But what is the capacity to expand that to be able to accommodate non-public schools?
Well, I think that's a part of what our research is going to have to tell us. We're going to have to get with the group because there has been some shifts over the people that handle Teacher Leader. I know some staff have gone and left, so we'll definitely be a part of getting with them and to see, and that can be a question that we can pose to them, like, what could this look like if we scale it up even more? As I understand it, I think we had over 5,000 teachers last year, and that was huge. That was huge.
That was
So,
not even marketing it and advertising it and offering it as an experience for non-public.
well, we did. We did have specific, we had specific flyers, I think information in
So
the
we-
newsletter that went specifically to non-public
We got
to
invited
engage.
toward the end of it. I think at the very beginning when it was introduced and advertised, it went to public, because I had that conversation.
So
with
you
them.
mean like years ago that happened?
No, the beginning of the
Registration is only, it was
It was only offered to public
And
schools,
then
and
it was
because that we
pushed
went
out.
and pulled the flyers.
Right,
And
but
it
as I
said-
understand it, it's always been a space that non-publics can attend. It's not been solely, and that's what we want to dispel. That's what we
It
want to
was
work
not- It was
toward.
not always for non-public.
Okay,
So, I mean, we can go back historically, I'm not gonna beat that horse again.
okay.
But even this year, Daphne pulled the information and in the flyer, she said, right now, I'm so sorry, because she said the same thing you just said. She went and pulled it and it said for public and charter schools.
Right.
So she then went to all of the
Yeah, we had
LEAs,
some things
and
created.
she had the LEAs, had
Yes.
new advertisements created.
Yes, absolutely.
Went to the LEAs and had them push it out to our principals.
Absolutely.
Gave it to us, we pushed it out, and that's how we got the people that we got to attend.
Right.
By that time, registration was
It was
almost full.
But there was also, I will say capacity wise, because I've attended every year for the past several, and there are people sitting on the floor, and that's just without marketing it, like Renell said, to non-public, so.
Well,
that's
that's
why I
something that
asked
the team
about
will have, yeah, that's something the team will have to think about, absolutely. And so I think at least what we're doing is we're being intentional about it, and we are gonna have the conversation. So again, that's a hard question that the planning committee may not be thinking of, but that is something that we definitely will bring to them to say, okay, you know, what does this look like if we do thus and so? Right, it has, it definitely has from its inception. And again, high level, these were the top 4 things that came out of the work group. There were more discussions, there was more back and forth with the group, but we didn't want to come and present you with 10 or 12 things that we didn't think that we could actively try to accomplish over the next year. So we're trying to start off here, and then we'll see how we can grow things more and more. All right, so what do the next steps look like? One, we were going to share this information with you all, which we have done here today. We are now going to go back and research all of the suggested activities and determine the best course of action toward implementation. Again, keeping that work group in mind and reaching out to them when we have discussions and decision points and whatnot that need to be made, and then of course sharing it with you all here as well. SEA Titles 2 and 4 work group will continue to collaborate with LDOE by way of regular meetings toward the implementation and providing state equitable services. LDOE is also going to plan a webinar for all nonprofit public schools as a follow-up to our initial webinar that we did with everybody talking about the consultation. We want to follow up with everyone again as well and provide them with where we are and then where we plan to go as far as next steps are concerned. If there are any questions around the work group and how we or how we're gonna be working and moving, Daphne and my contact information is at the bottom of the page. This was a heavy lift for us to do in a short amount of time, but we thought it was important. And I just want to thank those that participated in the work group because they did take hours out of their day, which I know everyone is busy, to be able to talk with us, you know, bounce back and forth ideas, and then just be an active thought partner in the process. We appreciate that. We appreciate you all taking this information, giving us suggestions, giving us feedback as well. I know you often communicate with Daphne, and so that is a good outlet so that we can stay on the pulse of what it is that we need to do as far as now actually moving forward and trying to research and figure out how to bring some of this to fruition.
Not a question, just a comment.
Okay.
Publicly thank Kenya, Daphne, and Marnell for when this was brought to their attention last year in November, for moving quickly and for making it a priority to provide the equitable services and equitable share to non-public school teachers and leaders for our students. So thank you for jumping on it quickly, and I'm looking forward to our continued work.
I think we have some things that I haven't necessarily said, but that could be exciting for you all. I think it will definitely make non-public educators feel included, involved, and that's what we want to do. And then ultimately knowing education is education, whether it's public or non-public. Strategies that work for kids in public school also work for them in non-public schools.
But also recognizing
the differences,
there's
yes,
a difference,
absolutely.
There's a certain amount of autonomy that we are granted as non-public schools. And just to make things easier moving forward, we've already taken steps to form a state chapter of CAPE, Council for American Private Education.
Okay.
We're going to be the Louisiana Association of Non-Public Schools. All non-public schools will be invited to be members and to be represented in that group. And I hope that that group will be able to partner with LDOE for things like this moving forward. And it'll be a great vehicle for you guys to access us as well.
Absolutely.
And hopefully make the collaboration and consultation process a little easier. But our articles are being created and will be filed soon. Our board will be formed soon, and we'll be communicating with all of the non-public schools shortly. So I hope that that will make this process
Absolutely,
easier.
wonderful. Again, the key, I think, is us actually being intentional, having the conversations, whether they be easy or whether they be hard, but actually doing the work and doing it. So like I said, I think in the spring, you may be able to look forward to some new things coming forward that we're able to provide to you, because ultimately that's our goal, making sure that we can get this up and running in a valuable way, knowing that down the road we're looking to build and build bigger and better. All right, any other questions?
Any further discussion? Any opposition? Kenya, you and Burnell can have 2 pieces of king cake. We can't increase your salary, but we can send it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, just remind me.
As long as it's in time.
Yeah. Okay, moving along, I need a motion to receive 3.3. Sister Carol? Up to you. Christy, you have some new forms for us?
Good morning. I don't have a lot, and I apologize, I'm a little froggy this morning. It's not contagious, it's just all this weather. So, not a whole lot. We had a Montessori task force that was created by Bessie. We met several times to investigate the Montessori issues in Louisiana, and very broadly, that was the topic. There's all kinds of Montessori issues. We are still meeting with the task force. We'll have at least one more meeting, and then it may transition to a work group. But out of that, they did endorse this policy. You should have a copy of the proposed Montessori policy. That policy was updated with 2 different things. One, to align with the legislation that just passed this past legislative session, to include another group that was listed in the statute. specifically. And then the work group recommended some other changes to where it's no longer non-public only. We want to see Montessori in both public and non-public. And so you will see the policy changes here for you to review. And I will take any questions that you have.
It's really just, is it adding a couple of providers and removing one or two?
Yes, it's adding a couple of providers, removing one or two. It's getting rid of, aligning the terminology, type C, class C, that kind of stuff. And then including the reading requirements from legislation as well. And then the other big change is removing the word non-public so that it can be used either way as an add-on to an existing teaching certificate or as that standalone ancillary if they've not done a different teacher preparation.
Any questions, further discussion? Okay, thank you very much. And you need a motion to receive 324?
Motion.
Dr. Lisa Patrick, second.
Good morning.
Morning.
So the last time I visited this group, Ashley was here talking about some policy updates, and it was very specific to 211. And we talked a little bit about computer science, and I enjoyed getting to know this group a little bit better and also kind of uncovering some of the things that you might need to know more about. So I'm hoping to bring you a more broad overview today about the new content standards that will be coming to Bessie in October, and then also address some of the questions that you guys had last time and provide maybe some solutions. So I thought about this. I don't know how much context you all have, so I wanted to give you like the breadth of what's been going on in computer science, just a place where our work is and where we're going. So in 2022 legislative session, we had Act 541 that passed, and that created the Computer Science Education Advisory Commission. They were tasked with creating a report. They came up with 6 recommendations, and one of those recommendations was to create computer science content standards. We brought the timeline and the process of how those standards will be created to Bessie in December of 2023, and they approved that, and then work began. So that has been the majority of our work, meeting with that committee to create those standards, and you should have a copy of those standards. It was provided in your materials that you guys can review, and we'll talk about public comment in just a few minutes. Also in 2024, we posted our computer science education plan, which outlines both state and system actions to help us implement computer science successfully in Louisiana. So I encourage you to take a look at that as well. The computer science standards are based on the Louisiana Computer Science Framework, which again is based in research. There are 5 core concepts and 7 core practices. Again, this is really weedy stuff. Like, I know it gets into the details of things, but I just want you guys to see where this came from. This is a sample of one of the standards. You'll notice that each one of the standards in Bulletin 104, again, that will be presented to Bessie in October. Bulletin 104 lists these standards by grade band. So by the end of grade 5, by the end of grade 8, please look at that and know we do not expect a kindergartner to be able to do what it says by the end of grade 5. That is just by the end of that grade band. Each one of these sub-concepts has those standards listed out. And again, our goals are to help our students become technology ready for today's workforce. Now, this is what I said before. This is important for you all. I'm hoping that you will help us by putting this information out there to your schools and systems and your teachers, your educators that are within your systems. We want your feedback. So we do have these standards out there available on our website right now. They are available for public comment. There is a form. It is linked here on the slide and also on our website. If you will help us to message that out, we would love to hear your comments. We will close public comment on September 27th, which will give us time to review and analyze those comments, make any changes that are needed based on those comments and feedback before board docs closes, and we put those items up for Bessie for public review. This, again, I'm sure you have many questions in your heads, but how are we going to support you moving forward? We talked about this a little bit last time, and again, going back to the nuance of public charters and public schools and then non-publics, I want to make sure and highlight for you the supports that we are going to provide for all of our schools, and then I think I have a unique solution for you all too. So as I mentioned before, the standards, it says by the end of grade 5, by the end of grade 8. Well, what does that look like in the classroom? Okay. We need some help there, and we're going to provide some guidance in the form of implementation frameworks. Those implementation frameworks will break down those standards into grade 4, grade 3, grade 2, grade 1, all the way down, so that if you do want to implement at those various grade levels, you have some guidance about what that should look like, and the vertical progression makes sense so that students are ready by the end of those grade bands. We will be doing some computer science standards overview webinars. Again, you all are welcome to message that out, and we hope you would attend. It will give a broad overview of the standards, how they were created. We will touch on and highlight those implementation frameworks and give you an early look at what that might look like. And then also the computer science training for educators. We talked about this a little bit last time. We know that one of the challenges that we may all face and we may need to address is that we need computer science certified educators. So we talked a little bit about Ignite and Energize, and the question that we had was, okay, what about non-publics? We are still looking into those available seats for non-public schools. Those programs haven't even kicked off yet. They won't kick off until January. But I did find another unique solution that you all may be interested in. It is another vendor. It's not Ignite or Energize, and I have the information. It's called CompuScholar. And basically, they provide online professional learning to educators to get them ready for that praxis test in computer science. And I did speak to them about, like, would you be willing to partner with groups of schools, like at the diocese level? And they said yes, they would. I can give you more details about that, but I think that that might be a solution for this group. Number one, if you're ready to move right now and you want information and you don't want to wait on Ignite and Energize. Number two, you're worried about, oh, there might be enough seats, that sort of thing. I think this will kind of help. We will be working to identify additional alternatives as that list grows. When the standards are final, then we can compare and make sure there's a good alignment. I have not dug in super deeply to these materials, but what I do see shows alignment, and I feel confident enough to bring it to you all as a potential solution. Once we dig deeper into those materials, we will publish a vetted list for everyone as well. The CSTAG, those technical assistance grants, those are for publics and for our Bessie approved charters. But then the additional pathways for computer science certification, as I mentioned before, that praxis test is one option. I know for you all, the graduation requirement was also a big point of conversation. You now have those draft standards that you can, if you would like to think about a competency assessment for that graduation requirement, then you might think about that. But again, we are trying to provide as many alternatives as possible so that we don't incur the challenges bring computer science to our students. Last but not least, the timeline. Everybody's always interested in this part. As I said before, we're going to do overview and implementation webinars for 24 and 25. 25, 26 will be the soft implementation, but there will be a tiered implementation as we move along so that you're not getting hit with all of the new things all at once. Acts 2:11, most of those pieces and parts, which was the elementary, the middle school, the graduation requirement, most of that hits in 26, 27, with the exception of our Jump Start students in 25, 26 with entering freshmen. So again, we're trying to give you that tiered model of implementation so that you can make small steps towards complete implementation of computer science. And based on that computer science education plan, we've got some action steps to help you do that. And I'll stop here for questions. Yes, ma'am.
Was there a survey done as to how many potential computer science educators there are? Like in our particular area from Thibodeau, our local university graduated no one in secondary education last December. And they've done away with their computer science department. So we don't see anybody coming there. And then people in the technology world can make hourly 3 and 4 times, the salary of a teacher. So what will happen if there's a school who has exhausted every resource and cannot find someone to teach this course?
I think there's going to be several options that will meet your needs. So in addition, if I go back, that bottom, additional pathways for certification, we are going to enact, we're going to Bessie also with this, some portfolio-based options that will help folks get certified. And then there's also like this middle step where we have course-specific certification. I'm not sure if you're familiar with STEM pathways, but in high school in grades 9 through 12, we can have a teacher who is course-specific certified, and that teacher, he or she, can teach that specific course. For example, it might be like Introduction to Computational Thinking. It would be a very specific course. It's not a blanket certification. But I think there's going to be enough options. I'm hoping we don't get to that point where there's just nothing, that you don't have any option at all. But if we do, then I'm sure we can address it at that time.
I'm more concerned about people not willing to get certified, not willing that, saying, I went to school to be a science teacher, a math teacher, computer's not my thing. And then we have one-to-one devices, so we don't have desktops anymore in the school at all.
Right.
We're an iPad school. So all of this content could be taught iPad.
Yes, not all of it. So there are lots of platforms that are web-based. So you're not going to have those computer labs. Sure, it'd be helpful, but you're not going to have those for every particular application. And that's the other thing, when going back to these standards, so it says by the end of grade 12, again, there's 4 tiers to that, 4 levels of complexity. We know that not all of our students are going to be computer scientists. We get that. But we want them to have a base level of knowledge so that they are able to make it out there in the world and be able to hit the ground running, whether they're going into career or whether they're going into a 4-year university or 2-year tech, something like that. So I think it's going to be flexible enough, and paired with your mathematics, I think people are going to see, when you really look at those standards, there's a lot of overlap. It's
So we can
beneficial.
work this into other content areas and
In
not
high
necessarily
school-
have to have it as a computer science course.
So in elementary, it should be, the implementation frameworks will help because it will show that overlap. Junior high, grades 6 through 8, you have to have an exploratory course. And again, you all have some flexibilities, right? So there may be some other options you all choose as far as those competency exams. And then in high school, they have to have a computer science course for graduation with entering freshmen 26, 27. But again, that's why I mentioned that competency exam. I know sometimes the scheduling, you all choose to do that, and that might be an option for
Right,
you.
because in the Catholic school system, we teach theology every year. So
Yes.
that's already their 4 credits, paying
Yes.
resource.
I understand. So that's why I'm interested in giving you all an early look at those standards. Because if that is what you all choose to do, let me give it to you early. Right. Any other questions that I can answer for you? Okay.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
all.
Okay, our next meeting is January the 21st. So I guess we can say Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year. And all of the above. I want to thank Shannon and Aaron for always keeping us on our toes and keeping us posted. And certainly want to thank all of you at the department for always being available to us. We just have to get Ed Link, and then we'll be smooth sailing. So at this time, meeting adjourned, and it's not even 11 o'clock yet. Thank you all very much.